when you were young, when you were a child and a young man?
The first thing is when I was 12, 14, we moved to the farm when I was 11, you see.
Yeah.
And I used to get up in the morning at 3 o'clock and shut the windows because the dawn chorus was so loud. And there was every bird a chatter, and all you hear now is a dove or a pigeon.
Yeah.
But that's what it was like.
Methersgate Wilds is a 40-acre site on the Suffolk coast next to the tidal River Deben. It is a wide tapestry of different habitats ranging from salt marsh to climax woodland, with areas of scrub, wet woodland and bare soil in between. The river constantly breathes, and there is a striking contrast between high tide, where brackish water laps right up to the edges of Methersgate's farm and grassland, and low tide, presenting a wide expanse of mudflats, a paradise for wading birds. Methersgate is never the same in two different moments. What makes this place special is the abundance of wildlife, particularly birds. Wading birds on the salt marsh, farmland birds on the higher ground above the estuary, and birds of prey who soar above the entire area. Birding enthusiasts come from miles around to witness and survey the curlew, lapwing, egrets, and a wide array of seabirds on the banks of the estuary, where there is already healthy ecosystem functioning. Above the level of the salt marsh, which is also a triple SI, Methersgate Wilds has potential to become much more. Now an abandoned field left over from arable farming over 10 years ago, the site has become an example of arrested succession subject to overgrazing by deer, and there's been little change in vegetation levels since Methersgate Wilds began in 2022 due to this pressure. What was once farmland is now an eclectic patchwork of semi-improved grassland and scrub, and is even the reluctant location for a pheasant shoot run by our neighbouring farmer. The gentle hill above the salt marsh has the potential to become a refuge for wildlife, and we hope humans too.
At 40 acres, Methersgate Wilds may lack the potential to become a fully determining rewilded site. However, what it lacks in scale, it makes up for in bioabundance and diversity. The site contains an array of different habitats and can be viewed as something of a wild and intricately weaved tapestry of interlocking and unique parts. Salt marsh sits next to scrub alongside semi-improved grassland, then woodland, and there is the potential for some freshwater areas here too. We want to unleash the wildness in each of these areas, using targeted interventions to kickstart natural processes in each one. We hope to optimise the conditions for many of the beloved and rare species, bird, plant and animal, who already have a home here, and then to find ways to make Methersgate an appealing prospect for those species in the surrounding area to come and live and breed here. Our vision is very informed by the motto, to protect the best and rewild the rest. At Methersgate Wilds, we plan to set a series of blue touch paper projects and then light them with the intention of sparking a wild chain reaction here to encourage every one of the 40 acres to thrum with life. Alongside trying to optimise conditions for wild species, our hope is for Methersgate to become a wild mecca for humans who can explore, engage with, assist and live alongside wildlife here in a harmonious way.
The area of Methersgate Wild is shown here in pink. To devise a plan, we first went through the existing survey data of the land. This included birds, invertebrates and plants. We took information from an entomologist survey carried out in 2022, the ongoing wetland bird survey, also known as Webb's Count, and informal sightings from local ecologists and birders here. From our survey data, we marked out areas that are already functioning ecosystems or containing rarities to protect and to be left undisturbed. Such areas include niche patches inland, but mainly the established SSI salt marsh. This is indicated by the zone in blue. We also looked at data from the wider Deben River area to consider some species that might be close by, suitable for introductions, and one day hopefully will find their way to Methersgate Wild. These include water voles, glowworms, seals, and otters who may come to bask here. To increase plant biodiversity, we will be contacting local wildflower meadows to hopefully collect their hay, which will bring seeds to Methersgate. The remaining area we divided into 4 sections. These are where we have plans for some rewilding, also with some focused habitat optimisation to support species already living on the land. We intend our approach to be gentle with careful monitoring and adjusting in line with the needs of the land, and so as to not disturb the life already present.
We plan to plant a mixed wildlife hedgerow along the boundary between Methersgate and the neighbouring farmed field, both as a windbreak and visual screen. This will be useful for nesting birds as well as foraging mammals, as it will provide berries as well as attracting insects. It's envisaged that the planting will be low input, hopefully by attracting volunteers to help. Planting here will be an experiment in different types of tree species to see which take best to the conditions, and we'll try to source the whips locally. Creating a fenced enclosure to protect this section of hedgerow against grazing deer may be an important part of encouraging new vegetation here. Suffolk is the driest region in the UK, and so new hedges will need to be resilient to drought and wind. Down the hill towards the river, there's a pond which was dug in 2023, and it's not holding water well. Despite that, it's marked with the footprint of many birds and mammals. We intend to line this pond properly in order for it to fill from an underground water source and provide drinking water for birds and mammals, along with important habitat for aquatic species. At this location in 2022, a turtle dove was seen here, and by providing fresh water alongside a small copse and bare ground for feeding, we will hope to provide ideal conditions to attract them back. This habitat creation will also help many other farmland birds to thrive.
There is a bare patch of ground roughly 20 by 20 metres that local ecologists have said marks a very important habitat for insects to burrow in and out of, partly due to the disturbance by badgers. The harsh conditions should allow for the growth of plants with small seeds suitable for a turtle dove, and for the growth of rare and specialised wildflowers such as vipers, bugloss and orchids. A local farmer and landscaper, Rodney Pryke, has said that further downstream along the wilds he believes there is another underground water source that we could tap into to create a pond. A hydrology report should help us identify its location and dig it out. Further down the hill on the salt marsh, we would like to try a scrape into the mud to create a wider expanse of salt water and hopefully help breeding wading birds such as curlew and lapwing. 2 osprey poles have been mounted in this section by the Deben Osprey Project, hoping to attract ospreys to nest in the future. 2 birds have been sighted here in the autumn of 2024 and 2025, and osprey are beginning to make a home in Suffolk. By the River Deben, there is some perfect habitat for them.
This area of Methersgate has thicker vegetation, with trees and large patches of nettles. There is room here to build some log piles and some hibernaculums, with damp, decaying wood at the bottom and dry crevices at the top, increasing surface area and shelter. This would be a great habitat for stag beetle larvae, amphibians, reptiles, overwintering butterflies, and for foraging mammals and birds. We will contact local tree surgeons who we may be able to source the wood from for free. This is an excellent opportunity to bring volunteers here to participate in the wilding project, and also to invite those who are interested to come and monitor the progress over years. This is going to be a low-cost project and will be suitable for all ages and abilities to get involved with. Through local knowledge, we discovered this area once held a small apple orchard. We plan to reinstate this ghost orchard. Along with apples and pears, we may also plant a variety of nut and plum trees to try and create a productive area that will be a great food source for birds, mammals, and for humans. This will be another potential for human participation here, and we also envision it will create a beautiful space for future wild camping and possible income stream.
There's a sizable meadow area to the south of the site which could provide a variety of rewilding or conservation opportunities. One idea is to facilitate the expansion of the old wood below the meadow, which is not part of Methersgate Wilds. The wood is quite old and has mature oak and ash within it. It is planned to allow saplings to encroach upon the meadow, as well as collecting and planting local seed in order to enhance natural regeneration. Since the loss of many ash trees to ash dieback, it is thought important to save as much seed from unaffected trees as possible, with a view to regeneration of this species. This could be one of the many volunteer activities that the site provides. It might also be possible to create a deer-proof enclosure in one part of the site in order to encourage the rewilding of existing scrub and wildflowers. This would be an experimental area to discover how the site would develop if the deer burden was removed. Ragwood grows here in abundance in the summer, and this field marks an important experiment in managing a wildflower meadow to become dynamic. Whilst we hope to explode the wildness potential at methersgate from carefully selected human interventions, there's huge scope to wild the main proxy species here, the human. We are privileged to be across the river from a newly created Suffolk Wildlife Trust site for rewilding, called Martlesham Wilds. Purchased by the Trust after a community crowdfunder in 2023, it is now the location of a long-term and wide-ranging rewilding plan to change farmland to a more wilded state and preserve the precious saltmarsh habitats there. We have excellent relations with the Wildlife Trust, who come and visit our site often, and there is scope to amplify their work on our side of the river. Furthermore, dozens of volunteers work at Martlesham Wilds. Sarah is going to speak to a group of them in December, sharing our plans for methersgate and hoping to find much in common between us. This presents a brilliant opportunity to share news of our project in our wider community. Further downstream, by a few hundred meters, is another rewilding site owned by our neighbour. Many of the interventions we plan to make have volunteer potential, from planting and laying new hedges, fencing off some parts to create deer-proof enclosures, building hibernaculums, and planting orchard and broadleaf trees. We hope that many of these volunteers will not only contribute to the rewilding work, but will also benefit themselves from time in a special place, community building, and having an experience of growing the good. Enabling humans to tune into the needs of nature and respond accordingly is at the heart of our plan. We plan to host a Council of All Beings in the spring of 2026, where humans from all backgrounds will come and speak up for the species here. Developed in part by Joanna Mackey of Active Hope, who died earlier this year, the Council aims to connect humans with the natural world by having each speak up for a different being on the land. It will be one of our ways to listen to methersgate and hear what it is asking for. And those who come will be invited to dress up and truly inhabit the species they represent. We hope the Council will include local children, neighbours, the neighbouring farmer and landowner, and as many of this Embercombe cohort who would travel to Suffolk and speak for the wild. All are welcome. It would be a dream to build a bird hide and construct some simple structures that allow spending time here and making it accessible to many. An outdoor kitchen, shower and compost toilet would enable many to come and stay here to rewild themselves.